We've been. Hi, Pastor. How's it going?
Fine, and yourself, Sheila?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
Hanging in there.
Well, to start.
I just passed,
That's fine.
unless you want, you got yours online, I mean,
Yeah. You want to
yeah.
Thanks.
So, everyone, I'll introduce, Mike McConnell from Wyndham Regional.
All right.
Your senior planning,
Sure, why not? Yeah, that's my title, senior planner.
senior planner, AKA hockey player. That I'll never catch. Kathy Ciano Goodwin, she's on the water committee and also select board chair.
Select board.
Select board, what did I say?
Huh?
Yeah, select board chair and water committee, water committee, Bill Kearns, our emergency management.
And administrative office.
Yeah. Buzz Fisher. Ron Gillette. All our other key members are coming in now. Eric Stevens. Okay, that's the Schwab.
What? I'm, but even if I know where they're not, you're probably in that board. If you would. The rent for waiting is. I can't remember, but that's in there.
Do you want the air conditioning in here? You guys want any air on or?
Yeah, yeah.
Her desk sounds very.
Right, call meeting to order. 7:04. Approval of the agenda. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so move. And we've got approval of the July minutes and then the May minutes that finally come out of Twilight Zone. Still depends.
Oh, there you go.
Thanks. I did grab it. So July minutes. Any so move? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved, July minutes, accepted, May minutes. Did you want to go back, take a peek? Hear a motion on the May minutes? Okay. Motion made, seconded, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you. And there are no June minutes that we know of. Ever? Lester?
I want to.
I'm sorry, but I thought we met in June and skipped July, but. Don't quote me.
3 months.
It was a test. It's like chapters 14 and 15,
Yeah.
they don't exist. All right, water and wastewater ordinance slash plan, Mike McConnell, senior planner, Wyndham Regional Commission. Senior planner,
That's the rumor anyways.
nice. Mike's got some information he'd like to share with us, and he has some questions as well, to what we're looking for, so. Kathy's here from the committee, myself, Eric. We're on the committee. And the planning commission is kind of taking it on as a kind of a sub.
Okay.
committee, I guess, or whoever was overseeing it a little bit. We did a lot of work on it over the past 2, 3 years to work with the engineering report, the other information we were gathering, trying to see what would work for our septic system. And nothing works.
That was a
Nothing
small part in those public meetings that were held over at the school.
Yeah.
there. So I'm a little familiar with how all that, how all
Yeah.
that went down.
We even went down the rabbit hole of, other practices,
Yeah.
greenhouse, and using wetland plants. I guess some good information, but nothing that's, economically practical. So, hence, that's where we're at with, the funding that they've offered us to put toward wastewater ordinance, water testing perhaps.
Yeah, the two ought to be kind of separate issues, so. The major part of finance should go to the water testing.
Mhm.
The ordinance is just something that Grafton has to agree on. Well, it doesn't cost us anything. But we've got this bucket of money and we've got this problem that we don't know when it's going to land on our heads. We would like to have a little bit of forewarning about it. And in that respect, we would like to have water testing done at a reasonable geographic sampling of areas within the village to know when there's imminent failure. When the level of something that's bad starts rising, we can know it before everybody's contaminated and the town is thrown into an economic tailspin. And I think there's a problem right now in finding a company that is willing to do the water testing contract over a period of 10 years or whatever it would take to expend that bucket of money. Am I wrong on that, or is that this the problem?
What we discussed, yeah.
Is there an RFP after that as well?
Yes.
Sorry, is there an RFP out for the water testing?
No one responded, right?
Right, RCAP, John Leclerc. And Mark Johnson, do you know Mark? From RCAP Solutions. They're a private company that does. They'll work for a municipality through grants. They did our original water testing for E. coli back 5 years ago now. So they assisted us there. So in any event, we reached out to them to see if they would help us, and there's nothing. No response, and then our administrators sent out an RFP for. Well, she also mentioned the water testing, and there was just no one responded.
Well,
I think she said that on several
upfront water
platforms.
testing is not something that I don't think it's something that we can, certainly not something that I can do. I'm here about the septic pumping ordinance. That's,
If you knew what places that maybe we haven't sent the RFP to, that might help.
I'll think on that for sure, yeah. I'll ask Margot Diaz, she's our natural resources, our water
Yeah,
person, yeah, that's the best I've got for you there on that topic.
Yeah, well, the state dictates that we have to have, what, certain levels for PFAS, right? So they're setting these standards, but not telling us how to test for it, or if they are.
and right now they're very expensive, I think $500 or so more per test.
And that's through,
I don't know. There's very few labs that do it. I think that's a matter of scale. If it were a more common recognized threat and there were more people and doing it, there would be a reduction in cost. But right now, we need to find somebody who's willing to commit to 10 years or whatever it is to do the test.
Sorry to jump into this so late, but I'm happy to badger. I mean, if we have you just reach out to them once and you didn't hear, and that, or even more than once.
I've got like 3 or 4
Really?
emails
And-
between Mark and John Leclerc, and Mark at least responded back, curious about our grant. And I explained that briefly back to him, and then he mentioned John again, we CC John, and there's been nothing,
So, I mean, again, do you think there's any words? I'm happy to try calling, and I'm happy to try to get an answer from somebody, what's your problem? I mean, and it's not you, who else? Because honestly, if in fact this is something that the state requires, one would have to believe that there should be someone who's doing it. But
well, they're not requiring it, they're just setting the standards for levels, if we have it. So our history is we have, the school had it, and a neighboring, residence of the school had measured above the parts per billion.
Eric, is the, is the thought that we're testing open water, or we actually testing?
Groundwater.
Well water,
well,
If we can't,
well,
if we can't find what someone to do the collections, is it possible we collaborate with a lab and train somebody to collect the samples? Just send them off and get results.
It is, from what I understand, the sampling has to be done, at least for PFAS, in a much more stringent,
That's why I'm asking.
laboratory,
There might be.
perfect way. You're talking about, contamination levels that are way down. And the stuff you're using to do the sampling with has to be really clean, and so someone could be trained to do that. I think that's an entirely reasonable thing to do. Whomever we were talking with from the state the last time around thought it was beyond our capability. I don't believe that.
well, there's a chain of custody too, that once you take the sample, it has to get to the lab.
Maybe you're gonna have to be certified somehow, but I'm wondering if it's the distance that someone would have to travel was precluding the lab perspective.
Mhm.
So do you think those, I mean, the companies that come and test well water for heavy metals and E. coli and all that, they're probably not the level of lab that you need for,
That's right.
you need something much.
Yeah.
more sophisticated and a different type of lab there.
Maybe we work from the other end and ask the labs, find out the labs that do testing for PFAS. And say, who do you recommend for testing?
Problem is the state can't do that.
No, call the labs themselves,
Yeah,
that do the testing.
Yeah,
Say, okay, where do you get your sample from?
School, school, quarterly testing,
Who does that testing?
hey,
yeah, we send it somewhere.
You gotta quote. But you gotta quote some PFAS testing.
they also test Charlie Wallen's house, because that was the residence that got that, he's selling filtered water. Or bottled water, he's waiting to get filters. The school has a filter system because the municipality. I don't know if there's any cost there, but the fluke was. The state chose certain schools and Grafton popped up, they tested it, found.
PFAS.
PFAS,
Yeah, it's a whole host of chemicals.
and it originated from the school. So that, I think it's been at least 3 or 4 years that they've been testing that still.
They've been responsible for the testing.
Right,
I would hazard a guess that there's maybe a half dozen or a dozen labs in the country that do that testing, so that they're almost certainly sending it out somewhere.
well, I did get the reports sent, and they were sent to Morgan's, we have those here.
So it may have the name of that company wherever it is.
So we potentially have, what, we're thinking 10 to 12 wells? in the highly populated areas that we'd wanna test, so we get like 10 or 12 different samples.
Well, yeah, we need the guidance of the hydrologist to tell her to do the sampling. That's not a big stretch, that's probably not a big expense, but we should have somebody who, has hydrology in their pedigree to, come up with how to do the sampling.
Is it worthwhile thinking about having sort of establishing a baseline? Getting these companies that actually do it here and paying probably a fair amount up front just to do it. But rather than think about a 10-year plan, is let's find out where we stand now. And is that a cost that we can handle in the grant, and everybody in the town puts in? Because we can fight over this and figure out, not amongst intelligent, trying to figure out, how do we get it done given the difficulties in finding competent lab and so on. And willing to do it, I said, oh, it's still 7 years. But this is important enough, not establish a baseline really. It's scary. Are you money one way or another?
Right.
Are you pushing the state?
Yeah, we discussed that, and get a baseline, that's what the original sampling is gonna do, is find that baseline. And then. Hopefully you don't find anything, but if you find something, then all of a sudden you've opened the can of worms, and you gotta continue to.
But think about
That's
this
it.
in terms of what do they
Basic
do to
analysis.
establish a base?
Mm,
Right, and the next step.
yeah,
Well, we also have to understand that the standards. They've upped the standards on all this. And because the school has been tested such a long time now, they do have that baseline and it's. And Charlie is the one you need to really talk to about what he's gone through with the state, with the water testing and trying to get a filtration system in. And it's something like $5,000 or $6,000 for him to put that in himself.
now, didn't they finally come to a conclusion on that? For the filtration system, in an email, I thought I read it, they
Well,
finally
the
making,
school, because of this municipality.
no, with Charlie, I think made
I,
progress.
I don't know where Charlie's at, I don't think I think he's still negotiating with that, I'm not sure. I think they're gonna give him filters, but
That's been going on for how long now? 3, 4
4 years. Right?
years? So,
That's the sort of thing we wanna do townwide or village-wide, with more than just Charlie. And establish the baseline and see where it goes over time. It's the change over time. Positive or negative, and I think Charlie's levels have fluctuated.
Right,
So we wanna track what's going on over time to see if we have a problem,
because they increased those, standards,
you know?
he met them, finally.
Because they lowered the standard basically.
yeah, well, they raised it,
Well, whatever, yeah.
yeah,
Raised, yeah.
yeah.
They
They originally lowered it, which put us in that category of lowered parts per billion.
Now, you understand what the big was with this money?
The recent,
Yeah,
well, no, I'm not sure what's going on.
well, because we have not put any
Oh,
RFP,
we haven't put any, we haven't
haven't,
charged for the bills, yeah, the bills, yeah.
they're ready to take the money away. And we have till September 30th to get something to give them.
So we send them a bill for something.
We can show the RFP out. Yeah, but,
I didn't want that bus to it. I mean, that.
It's,
and. Just looking, and again, I don't know if this is the way we go or not, but the Vermont Rural Water Association offers training on PFAS collection.
Yeah.
And so does the Vermont Agricultural and Environmental Laboratory. So there are some potential options.
Which means they must have some people in the organization
That
that can do it.
you would think so, yes.
look, the health officer.
Morgan may be overwhelmed with Lester would
And so,
take that on as well.
sure, pass over whatever it is you just said, and then I'll follow up with you offline for a minute, to make sure I understand what I'm what I'm being tasked to do, and I'll do it. Is that all right?
Very, I'll share this with you, it's kind of information gathering, I guess, at this point.
And we also need to talk with someone, many people probably, in a separate RFP. Who's a hydrologist, who can inform us about how to do the sample.
And what the cost is going to be, so we can at least. put something.
That would be several $1,000s, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we can take a look at what you got and we'll talk.
and I would, well, start with CC Morgan, because she's really frustrated right now, because she's kind of reached out. And she's not got many
And
responses.
by the way, it should be anything, you have to have somebody on retainer in order to get the money.
And that's what happened with this 3.2 million that we're gonna do with the septic system and. Really,
Right, well, it became an $8 million project and.
Yeah.
It's kind of moot
all the
point.
money was there,
Yeah.
and they gave us the 220,000. That's a little bit.
And now they want to take that out of there too.
Yeah, you wanna take that away, because we're not. You know, many bills.
Morgan and I have been talking about, well, we were talking about Merck, this is a Merck building, as I'm sure you know. And I knew that she had put out the RFP for the pumping ordinance and wasn't getting any hits. So I kind of told her, if you don't hear anything from anyone else, you let me know and I'll put something together. A proposal, so I've since done that, given it to her, and Matt has some copies there.
Yep, well, we pass these out.
Yeah,
Yep.
that is fine. This isn't something that we typically do, as an organization, it's just not something we typically do. Very few towns, I believe, have a ordinance like this. So. The proposal is because there's no one else it seems. But we're, happy to help and. We'll do it, I'm sure it'll be fun, but it's pretty heavy on, research and. Best practices and things of that nature, just because. This isn't in our wheelhouse, so to speak. So I gotta figure out, what this looks like.
But this will be you and your team doing it directly.
I like the sound of that, my team.
Are you your team?
It would be me, I would be doing it.
Okay.
And I've written other ordinances, just not one of this nature, so.
So this would be a step ahead of what we're currently doing with our.
The way it was described to me was there were two tracks, one was the pumping ordinance and one was the water testing.
Mhm.
And they were not necessarily. Linked in a. I don't wanna say a meaningful way, because that diminishes them, but they're not, you don't have to wait to do one to do the other. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So it'd be a package that each. Property owner would need to adhere to
Well, it'd be a
going
town
forward,
ordinance.
town ordinance.
Yeah, just like subdivision.
We already
But
said.
the.
Right.
Plus, we wanna update it,
Yeah.
because. Short-term rentals, that in those too. People will come under, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it every 4 years, but yeah. A short-term rental, and if your occupancy is 10 people, sometimes on a weekend, that's gonna compromise septic system. Optimize the water too, if there's a problem, or septic. So. We're still balancing that out, right now, it's just what we have now, it's the ordinance septic.
So basically put all that together in a package here, here's. An ordinance package,
Right.
and. The goal is to protect our water. Number one,
Yeah, and also the maintenance. Ensure that septics are maintained in the proper way,
Mhm.
right? To prevent the creation of health hazards and ensure facilities are maintained that will promote sanitary and healthful conditions. So,
And we do have people in the village that are new, some of them are new owners. You know, foundation sold some properties. Some of these folks don't even know where their water well is or where septic is and how old it is. So there's that piece too, but checking in on, are they gonna pay up? Are they, how old are they? Where's it located? Where's the well located? Is it a shared well? Is it shared septic? You know, that's.
And there very well, maybe people that move from a city location. That has very little idea of what an individual state system is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, and you're on city water, city power, city utilities.
we still think it's municipal. Yes, Bill,
There's a ton of houses sharing wells, and there's absolutely no agreements, really none.
yeah.
Is it a sewer house or
Case like
something?
that, yeah.
When I talked to Jeff Speck at Water Wastewater, and when you get it, dealing with Wyndham Foundation, it's impossible, but anyway, getting them to get a permit to do the lot line adjustment was like pulling my hair out. Okay, but they finally did it. But Jeff could not make them do an agreement in water. I don't know why, but because originally he told me it was water and wastewater, they needed an agreement on both of them. But they do not have an agreement on water, which means that if the well fails, I guess you go to court to figure out who's gonna do it, or you both agree that you're gonna share the cost of fixing the well. Also, for instance, the well at the Crawford House may feed just the Crawford House and the store, but is the Crawford House and the store giving their water from another well? No one knows. I heard that the Barrett well serves 5 houses, including the store and the Crawford. But there's no agreement. And on septic, they do have an agreement on septic that the persons would have to basically use what Jim Grupiani put in for the market. A couple years ago, it's tied to the Crawford House, and they would have to share the cost of maintaining it, based on the amount of water that left their house and went into it. And both are metered for the tap, and so they just do the combination, but all of that ends up in the leach field, which is that big pump behind the glass house. You know, the nursery, and so,
Mhm.
but how many go into there? And do you ever have a maintenance problem with the hill? Well, I imagine that sometimes you do. But there's probably no agreement in that either. So it was really nice when the foundation owned 30 houses in town, but now that they don't own 30 houses in town, they never told the people anything about the drainage going through the middle of the village, for instance, or anything about their septic or
Or
water.
water, yeah.
So it's a big mess. People literally may not know where they're getting their water.
Mhm.
So,
But that's all important information when you put all
you
these.
think?
Oh,
Yeah.
in terms of justifying why we're doing this.
You gotta get more, we have to get more answers.
Well, what I'm saying, what I heard, and I'm not sure that well, but what I heard is not only do you want the people are, for instance, the septic thing right now basically is one thing. With every 3 years, you got a pump. Right? We don't have anybody inspecting any of the systems to see if they're working. You got a pump there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Or what type of.
If you're gonna inspect, first of all. And and who's gonna pay for that?
Well, that's one of the RFPs was for septic tank inspections.
That's what I'm talking about, to be clear.
Yeah,
Okay, so, yeah, yeah.
so we can start with, excuse me, Bill, if you were to assist us. Do an inspection on all the systems in the village. Is that what you're saying?
No,
No,
no, that seems like it would be included in the ordinance, but I'm just talking about drafting the
okay,
ordinance.
so the ordinance would tell the homeowner they need to have an inspection performed.
Yeah. Which would then lead them to locate it, and I would imagine that'll open up several cans of worms around
Yeah.
Sure.
the villages.
Who's gonna pay for it?
That's where the grant come in, wouldn't
Well,
it? Would the grant money?
current ordinance says, you pump it every 4 years. Give whomever, maybe you, maybe Morgan, a receipt.
Yeah,
for
but
that.
Morgan. The administrator, I'm not administrator, the town administrator does it and receives the receipts from the pumping company for each one that is done, and you don't sign off, when I was in, you don't sign off on that person who hasn't done it until you get that receipt. You don't take anybody's word like that, you get the receipt. And if they don't give the receipt, you give them a warning, and then with the ultimate result is the town would pump it. I don't know if the town has ever had to do that, but the town would get it pumped and then charge them, put it on their tax base. So that, I don't think we've ever had to do that, I think everybody's so.
Seems to me that the cost would be on the property owner for pumping, the inspections, for whatever else that, that situation or process entails.
Well, could we use the grant money toward their inspection to say, hey, you get a free inspection through the grant that we have?
Like an inspection for everyone.
Yeah, that'll entice them to get their systems inspected and find out where they're at.
I mean,
That'll
I
suck up to $200,000.
think that would be
Well-
an awesome thing to do. I don't know if it can be done with this grant, and that's certainly not in the RFP that Morgan gave me.
Yeah, well,
For what it's worth.
maybe you give everyone a $500 token that says you get $500 toward your inspection. Do this grant.
If you're gonna put in the regulation that they have to be inspected every so many years.
Or at least get a baseline.
That's what you're.
No, get a baseline where we're at with these tanks.
But if you're gonna require that like you do the pumping, you're not gonna get a grant every year. The people who are using it are gonna have to pay for it.
No, I mean, the initials, we have no idea, at least get the initial out there
Okay.
with an incentive that, hey, there's grant money that will get you at least on the ball field here.
I think it's worth a conversation with the state, right? They want you to spend money. It seems. I think that'd be a great idea. If I lived in Grafton Village, I would love that. That'd be amazing. But can you?
And you're rapidly coming to an either or situation. Inspecting every septic tank in the village is going to suck up most all of that $200,000, and you'll have nothing left for water testing.
Yeah, I don't know anything about what it takes to inspect a septic tank. but- So I'll take.
Well, we've got to do something with, and get the bang out of our buck here. With whatever money we do have. Let's start somewhere.
What's involved in inspection that's different than pumping? What, I mean, what I'm thinking of is, when we used to have our, well, pump, well, I think about we never needed to do it. Long as we didn't put our pickle fruits. Anyways, and I would start the process off, so that since it's in a money zone, so I would use find the cover. The record looks on it, have to go looking around in the future, but pulled it out. And even now, I can inspect it myself, but if an inspection requires it to be pumped and filled. Can you inspect it at that point? I'm just wondering how much more expensive it would be to inspect
Mhm.
after pumping first.
Well, whoever's pumping it can at least tell us how big a big tank is. Right, and they should know before they go there to pump it, is it 1,000 gallon, is it 500? Is it 1,500? Because they're gonna come with a truck and say,
Assumption I would make.
I've got a 500 gallon truck. I can only pump one 500 gallon tank. I mean, when I get mine done, the first thing they ask, oh, how big's your tank? It's
You've got to be able to inspect the tank, which requires a fair amount of excavation, perhaps. Much more than just cleaning out for the access hole for pumping. You're gonna have to do some kind of inspection interior. um, To detect any cracks in the tank. You're gonna have to do something at distribution box to make sure that is still functioning. You have to do something in the leach field to know whether that is still functioning, not all filled up with grease. I'm thinking multi-$1,000 per system to do all of that work. That's on top of getting the tank pump, which is around 500.
We'll find out what it is it plastic, concrete, metal?
That's easy,
Okay, that's easy, how big is it? That's fairly
that's
easy,
easy.
at least get that information, I don't think we have all that information.
I doubt it.
If you pretty much know if the septic is not working,
Only after everything's all plugged up.
no, you could, if your leach field and that is malfunctioning,
Yeah, it backs
the
up,
whole neighborhood knows.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
but you don't really know with.
And we still gotta do the information out to people, what to put down a drain, what not to put down a drain. You know, when we were doing water testing, 4 or 5 years ago. I couldn't believe the number of homes, I was part of water testing. Couldn't believe the number of homes that had garbage disposals that were dumping into septic systems. And I told them right point blank, don't use your garbage disposal. And still using it.
Sure.
They can resend them.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
probably still using chlorine bleach.
So you've got that issue, and you've got people who come in to use, the Airbnbs, thinking it's municipal water, and they're dumping everything down there.
It's that situation.
You're gonna have a sign there, if it didn't come out of you and it's not this particular paper that's right here, don't put it down this drain.
Well, that's something for the SDR.
They're part of the ordinance.
Ordinance has to have that in there. And I
Airbnb,
that's fine, right?
That would be the,
That'd be good.
Cause people are putting all kinds of stuff down, right?
Now, is potential problems in that scenario, something that's alleviated by, a pumping ordinance that requires pumping more often than that now? That's one way of addressing that.
I think you have, right, with the Airbnb ordinance? Additional pumping,
we talked about that last night, and they looked at the average number of nights per month, and they had. And had done that research to determine that based on the nights, they didn't really think it required. Additional pumping.
really? How about occupancy? Should look at that, like if there's 11 people there that weekend or 2.
They did, they looked at the number of nights and the number of people that could eat it or are supposed to eat it. Now, if that's exceeded, they did say that's very hard to track, if somebody exceeds the number of people recommended.
Plus, when they book a night or a weekend, you can see it, then you have blocks.
Yeah.
And they can block out and they can still rent. They still get the money, but it doesn't show on there.
She
Fee.
I did admit it was a fairly limited data set, so could definitely do this more research probably, but that was the initial.
Just so.
And Anna could explain better than I.
just so that I understand, is the implication there might be a different requirement for each Airbnb? Or are you using the rough data around to establish?
It was discussed, but then they decided no.
Because I can't imagine anything more difficult to deal with than that, have different ones for different areas.
That was the other discussion, was the tracking and enforcement.
Any other-
A lot of discussion about a lot of different topics going on. I think how we can help is with the actual drafting of the ordinance, like that's what we're thinking, is a way that we can help draft it. You know, the deliverable would be, you know, the ordinance based on best practices of, you know, DEC, VA, so on and so forth. If there are other aspects that you would like us to help with, I think we're certainly open to a conversation about that, but right now we're about creating a new or updated ordinance for you guys.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's where we're at, right now, so. That our proposal, Morgan has the kind of the full document.
Kathy, did you get,
Try and get. Oh,
Oh, yeah, Mitchell?
Bill, do you want to see them?
Pardon me?
You want to see one? Where's the air, Kath, can you turn those down, please?
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's based on the RFP that Morgan has sent out, no,
Here's the summary of hours for the,
sorry,
this the summary of hours.
yeah, Morgan has a more complete document letterhead, the whole deal, but
Yeah, she's emailed it, I thought that the company, right?
I don't know if you guys have all seen this, but RFP, this is what I based this off of. So there's anything else, let's talk about that in a separate way.
any questions or thoughts?
I mean, I don't think it looks unreasonable that you'd be able to include kind of recommendations in the ordinance for what not to use. You know, the sign postings we'd ask.
You mean like informational,
Yeah, what not to push,
I don't know that that would be in the ordinance. I mean, that seems like, to me, that seems like just a town policy that needs to be established, right? I mean,
That's what we're talking about, town
yeah,
ordinance.
well, I think an ordinance is a policy, or an ordinance is an official, it's a law. Policies, we send these to all of our. Short-term
We got a
rentals.
reference to it then,
Sorry,
we got a reference to doing it.
but I thought there was some research or information on SPIs with the subject in terms of what they put in the toilet. Did we see, was that your?
We did that when we did the water, we sent out some things.
Okay, so you still have that.
Yeah. It's out there, sure, yeah, there's lots of information. But it's just keeping it in
Yeah,
their face. And, you know, hang this, you know, maybe we can't give them a frame one that they hang by the toilet,
A little
you know?
requirement, post it.
Yeah. So where do we go with I mean, this could be covered through the grant. Very easily.
Depending on how wide you choose to make the scope. So the things that you mentioned, the capacity, the material. And as they're running out on the ground, that's cheap. is the tank leaking? Was the leach field, half compromised with grease? Was the distribution box, broken up or not functioning properly? That adds thousands of dollars each.
Well, without getting too much excavated, can we find someone who could, you know, just put a dollar figure on and say, well, we're only gonna do $500 per property. This is what we need for information. Update the information that's maybe currently downstairs, but not up to date. And find the information, like Bill says, is just missing. Some of these new homeowners that bought from the Wyndham Foundation, they didn't have a clue. No, isn't that supposed to be part of the real estate sale? Where's the water? Where's the septic?
Don't get me started. Yeah,
It's,
if this is California, it's a 40-page document when you sell your house. You gotta tell them how many holes you have in your streets. I mean,
Massachusetts, that's
All
what.
it does is a
But,
kind
and you're supposed to do that to some extent here, but
I would imagine that the cheap things to do could probably be done at each septic pumping, as a separate fee on top of the pumping.
So you suggest that fee be covered under the grant? So
Right,
we maybe send,
I would suggest that you, in addition to having it pumped, that the person pumping it inspect it, make sure none of the pieces are broken and they're all functioning and be done. I wouldn't go any further, because if it's not functioning so bad that it's a danger, you're gonna smell it. But
well,
they can look at the junction box, they can see it.
yeah,
So are you suggesting perhaps that maybe you bifurcate, these, you have the user, the homeowner pay the cost of the pumping, but the grant pay the cost of some inspection, so that it winds up being something that becomes much more formal or not? That would be okay with me if you did it the first time, right, just okay on the grant. But
at least we can
but if you're gonna say every 3 years they gotta do that, you're not doing that with me. Okay, okay, so why are you doing it in the bill?
At least-
So you have to, what would one have to inspect every 3 years, or do you think, I mean, if you found something that was in good shape, would that be satisfactory for a longer period of time, or you still have to check it periodically?
On the bills, it's every 4 years.
You still have to check the
but what it does, Lester, is, Bill, we're just establishing a new baseline.
new baseline, right?
You know,
That's what you wanna do.
And then, because the information that's downstairs goes back to what, 1994?
Yeah.
When it first started, and then who knows what that information,
Okay.
where that information came from. Now, if someone pumping, if they find a problem, they're gonna tell the homeowner, hey, your junction box was really messed up, you better do something about it, he's gonna walk away. Does he report it? Do we make it where it's reportable information?
I would put that in the ordinance and that for late, every 4 years. If you, like now, like when you pump it, the guy has to give you
An inspection
a
report.
statement that everything that is immediately, viewable and if you're working on it, because it's all right there.
Yeah.
Is there a checklist working? Does any problem, is there generally a checklist?
Yeah.
Back from the. Yeah, they do, but they don't say that in the thing, they just say they pumped it. The receipt just says.
And they'll tell you that, oh, your leach field is working well, and, you know, everything looks good, you know, or gee,
That's not required of the people, and therefore that's not on the receipt, it's just that they pumped it. But those, receipts will tell you how big, give you a lot of this information right from the receipts. And they're all downstairs, they should be. I mean, everyone that's pumped, it tells you how big it is and so on. And there might be some comments on it, how well it's.
Well, you could establish the required form before they would get paid.
You could do that.
on this first time around,
Yeah, first,
yeah.
Also, having more.
I would do it in the future too. Sure. Decided, the problem, if you're filling out a form
Trying to acquire, that's the question I have. No, everybody, that's one of the problems is that as long as you use the same guy every year, he knows right where it is, but. There
A lot
are
of these
people who
people
have no idea, which, now you get outside of the village where they don't, where they're not gonna do the ordinance. There's probably a zillion people who don't know anything about where their septic is. I know my neighbor doesn't. Oh, I don't, and this one, I think I don't talk to me. You see, you can figure it out if you go down to the basement where. No, I found down the basement where they're built for problem.
Lester, can you repeat that a little more louder?
Yeah, right.
I'll figure out it, and I'll take care of it.
Yeah. But here in the village, it's an issue, and then that's why we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on engineering reports in the past 30 years that have led us nowhere because there's potential problem here.
I mean,
Because of the high
the things
population.
that I'm hearing don't seem unreasonable. Right, a required form perhaps, or requiring an inspection report to be submitted with the receipt. Pictures of where it is, right, they're gonna probably mark it, I would think. I mean, none of that seems unreasonable to include.
Yeah, your initial thing, that would really be good, on the initial thing, to where it is and then, yeah.
Yeah,
What it's made out of.
do a GPS drop on it. There's the technology we've got right now. Could you GPS where the tank is? GPS where the well is. Didn't Ty and Bond do that? With the report, not Ty and Bond, but Otter Creek, and they did the original marking, they measured them back then, but.
You can get a little GPS thing for a couple $100 and. Wash it back in toilet and just measure your it's just, I mean, really, it's a commercial.
That's a good
product,
idea,
right?
yeah.
That's me.
Great idea. That's a great
Maybe
idea.
I'll go get one.
It's actually, you get an Amazon, and you come it up.
I think you had it.
They're all in Springfield at the treatment plant. That's a great idea.
Are there other septic pumping ordinances within Wyndham County?
I don't think I found any anywhere else. I haven't looked that hard, but I haven't found any obvious ones, so.
Let's say you're gonna look at other, towns for best recommendations and practices.
Well,
So
we're
that could be a lot
gonna
of-
try,
A wider net.
yeah.
Other things.
That's something Chris ought to put out to the commissioners to feed information educationally to the select boards and say, hey, this could save you some money downstream if you, pay attention to it and get ahead of the problem.
Sure.
A lot of compact villages like this.
The potentially be like a town plan that's changes information.
It could be a,
Chester,
well,
towns.
WRC has a pretty good template for how to put a town plan together, and that could be part of it. The suggested ordinance.
Michael, do you have a sense of why other towns aren't bothering to do this or not thinking about it as a problem?
I mean, I don't have a confirmed sense or any information based on research, but
But if I get it, from my experience, this is the only town I ever heard of that had it. And many of the towns. I don't know. But not, what percentage of many towns have their wastewater treatment in that we are surrounded by, and you have it.
the towns of new thing.
For the pump, and then if you, we don't even care what you do out, if you're outside the 80 or 85 houses in the building, within the village.
I pumped mine up to your river by your house.
Pardon me?
I pumped mine up to your house.
It stops at Richard, and he can't figure out why he's in it, cause he's up there on top of the hill above the village cemetery, and it just goes around a big circle, and there really isn't any. I mean,
And my neighbor next door is on it and we're not.
That's that question that I have, what's the rhyme or reason?
Pardon me?
Two Lathrup is on that. Amherstport,
Oh.
Because she was considered part of, where Charlie Gates and that whole
Yeah.
yeah,
group of
That's
houses
what
are.
Kingman Porch is on.
He came and spoke, and Holtonville.
and Holton.
Just for home.
The village inclusion includes that group of houses,
Where?
the village center. That we're talking about, that includes that.
Yeah, yeah, and then along Middle Street too, right?
What's that?
So again.
And it goes down Middle Street.
It goes.
The ordinance goes down.
It goes down, I don't, I think it goes down, I can't remember anymore, but I know it goes down Main Street quite a ways, and I don't remember how far it goes down. But can't remember.
Goes to
Well, we did water testing all the way down through there.
wherever that is, that's what's in the current.
Yeah, it goes all the way down to, the fire department, just about.
There's two other maps in there, one for Cambridgeport and one for Ellenville.
Also, Cambridgeport is a separate.
Yeah, and again, it's Barrett's house over here. And Richard's house up on top of the hill. Out on 121 about the end of the pavement. Townsend Road, down at. Oh, where, Corbin lives. And it's McCombs house, and then it goes out past, to. Looks like it goes almost all the way to the fire department out there, and then up on Chester Hill.
So new construction, like we've got a new house here now, that just appeared, another Twilight Zone episode,
They'd be,
huh?
they would,
Was it?
they would be in the,
Yeah, it would be in it, yeah.
and I can't remember if it goes across the bridge.
In the proposal, there's some allowance for mapping, for coming up with, like, where do these areas need to expand? Why are they the way they are, right? You said you were not, right, or your neighbor.
It's like this is my house here, down by the library, this is my neighbor, and she's on.
Because she's closer to the river, Charlie Gates, and that whole community there.
Yeah, you're draining the other direction anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
So that's something that was one of my questions tonight, and I think it's answered, why are these properties in there? It seems like maybe we don't know fully why this property is and this property isn't.
On the fringes, you might not know, but the rest of it.
And are there properties that, like you said, have been built up in the past 15 years that maybe need to be?
Oh, there's one now.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
there's
that's what I meant, that house just happened. Did anyone know that house was gonna be built?
until I saw halfway.
We didn't have to review that on DRB? At all?
Say again?
We didn't have to review that?
When anybody wants to make any improvement to their property, their house at all. Whether it's interior or exterior, they're supposed to tell the town to get it, it's a notice, doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, was that
And then it
noticed?
always comes to me with regard to, is it in the floodplain, and does it need,
Yeah.
a floodplain improvement? That's so, but everybody who does an improvement is supposed to tell.
It's close. Is it in floodline?
It's right next to it.
It's the old tennis,
No, it's across the street from them, but
it's on the old tennis court.
it's on the old tennis court, and that's off out of it, and then, and then the new flood maps, it. A whole bunch of people are gonna, like. 28 houses are gonna be out of the floodplain that they're down in the new flood maps, so if they follow it.
Was there an actual property subdivision for this new house?
No, it was always a separate property, that was. The families that owned that, the Wilsons and so on, they owned that was their tennis court for that neighborhood.
Okay,
And then, and one of them, then when they stopped living there, that was sold as a separate piece. Well, it was actually Elvis's, that property. And, the Elvises sold it. But it didn't need to be subdivided, it was a separate.
So they have a new well and a new septic.
I don't,
As far as we know.
they had to, but they, you know, they had to, we don't do that, the state does. You have to get a permit for the well and it's something.
Can I just ask, what are you actually talking about?
Right on, like, they're
Next to, Denny's Smart's house.
House out there?
Okay, yeah.
Where you play
They pull you on the truck and they set a ton on the foundation.
Yeah, just it
All of a
appears.
sudden you see this crane and there's that. Are we?
What's that?
They don't know.
My name.
They're new, they're new.
I tried to go down there and look, I stopped at the stop sign.
So. So what are the next steps for this and this, select board?
Yeah, I mean, if it's agreeable proposal, if there's anything else that needs to be added or you'd like us to do. Let me know, if not, I'll draft a contract for municipal. Services, that definitely needs to go to the select board. They'll sign it, Chris will sign it, we'll be going.
We wanna make a motion to. Move this toward the select board?
One thing I do want to mention before any motions are made, in the RFP, it says, delivery of a or updated ordinance without further legal review.
Well, it had to be moved.
Sure, that's what I want to point out. I'm sure that the town has an attorney, and I'm happy to. Liaise with that attorney and get them to look at it. But the cost for that is not included in there, that'd be. A separate situation. And I'll incorporate their comments. So on and so forth, but we certainly cannot do a legal review.
Mhm.
I just wanted to make that clear before we go any further.
Well, what do we,
So we're not making a decision on the contents of the ordinance, that's what you're basically gonna be drafting up.
Yes,
So, we're approving or not, or encouraging going ahead with the project as stated as a basic scope of work.
hmm,
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's good.
and. We could. Move the. Not move, but yeah. The funding, create an invoice at some point before September 30th.
Yeah,
Do we just need a placeholder, or do we have to spend the entire
I could
$200,000?
imagine
No,
contracting with someone to do the work would be enough.
Yeah, so
And all-
yeah,
all that.
just to show that,
yeah,
That's-
we're using this money, part of it's gonna go towards this.
Yeah.
Plan.
then we can expand on it later.
Then we have to expand because we, the research was in the lab or we're gonna. Do inspection. I mean, there's still a lot of pieces that have to go with this.
I think this should be almost divorced from
Right.
water testing.
Yeah,
That's our thinking.
I think it's separate.
That's, I'll certainly ask around to, I mean, I have contacts in engineering firms and so on and so forth, but. Yeah, they're separate in our eyes.
Mhm. Wanna do a motion? To,
Why don't you state the motion?
uh,
Well, if I may before, is there anything, there's a lot of conversation, is there anything else that you would like included? Before any motion is made?
besides the water testing,
Yeah, right.
what's a start?
Creation of informational material or.
Yeah, but he's not doing anything about the water testing.
No, I was
Okay,
Justin,
okay. Decision. Yeah, okay, go ahead and state.
motion that we accept, what do we wanna call this, Mike,
So, pumping ordinance proposal.
Do we call it, improvement or,
Scope of work,
Or your. Consumer rate.
a motion to accept?
Well, bigger. Gonna have to address the select board for approval as a fund, right?
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, motion.
I would you say you accept it.
Recommend.
See,
Motion to recommend.
Go ahead, Bill, what you said?
I say just, it's a WRC tax proposal, is that what you're accepting?
yeah.
that's good enough.
Yep, WRC septic proposal,
The task, I follow the task proposal, because the thing, and
task, yeah.
that, we accept it, and we pass it out with the select board for their consideration.
Okay, so simply stated, motion to recommend, WRC septic task proposal. Plan,
Sure. That work, yeah.
That and I can represent it, the select board is still doing it, very.
We call it the task proposal schedule.
and then, once it goes to you, we still have by September 30th to have Mike present what,
I'll draft a contract
yeah,
prior to the select board meeting, and that's.
Yeah.
It will,
there we go.
and I'm happy to be there as well.
It's the. First one.
First one is Labor Day, so you might. Or maybe something when.
The next meeting on the 12th, then. Select board.
September 2nd, Tuesday, May.
That is a holiday.
Well, holiday's the first, but maybe Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay, all right, good enough. So we're meeting a day later. Okay.
We had a contract to be proposed by WRC to select board by
Second meeting.
September what?
So.
Or 4th September.
Right.
2, yeah. Alright, so recommend WRC septic task proposal plan, contract to be proposed by WRC to select board for September 2nd meeting.
We
Oh,
will
that's-
be there, so then she can. Bring that. To the
Yeah.
element of it. Think of her name,
For that,
yeah,
I'm gonna call him.
check. She took her time, get that fast, morning to several,
So, and,
wait.
okay, so that's number one motion, let me read it again. Planning Commission recommends Wyndham Regional Commission septic task proposal plan. Contract to be proposed by WRC to select board for September 2nd meeting. Any discussion?
I'm sorry, how did you word that in terms of? The planning commission is,
The planning commission is recommending Wyndham Regional Commission septic task proposal plan with contract to be proposed by Wyndham Regional Commission to the select board for September 2nd select board meeting.
so your proposal, is that we recommend to the select board to be adopt this,
No,
is that what we're saying? Rather, I'm not opposing that,
No.
I had in mind that we were sending it to the select board for their consideration.
approval or consideration.
But if I may. The recommendation is for the select board to contract with Wyndham Regional Commission for the creation of a septic pumping ordinance. That is the recommendation, I mean, I think this is fine, everyone knows
Yeah, and
what we're talking about.
I think it is a recommendation in the interest of time, because we have till September 30th. I think the select board has to decide that night or at the next meeting. And hopefully that then, so
Hopefully that, I'm excited.
I would think if we can get the contract maybe a few days before in order to probably distribute it, and we have time to read it when we're ready for that. And I know we're putting a lot in there, but for information.
So that gives you 2 weeks, that, enough time?
I mean, our contracts are pretty short, they're very
So-
simple.
Yeah.
It'll largely encompass this sheet that you all have.
Yeah, so if we could get it next week, would be great, but we're gonna be able to send it out with some explanation.
Will do.
Then the select board would be ready for.
Yeah, let's start, put to work. You got that motion written down? Get it recorded?
Want to find, I'm sorry, no, what?
Have you recorded the motion?
What you've been, this, yes.
Yeah, I like Mike's version. He read the play a little bit better, so he's a better hockey player.
I mean, I do this quite often.
So- I think it pretty much sums it up. Yeah. So we're recommending
Yes, understood.
only,
Okay.
it's a start.
We're recommending this proposal and then it's gonna be voted on, he's gonna have.
Yeah.
After the scope or the contract.
Okay, so it's our motion. All those in favor?
I,
And then I'll say.
Oh, sorry. Who? You motion, right?
What's that?
Did you motion or did I motion?
No, you have.
I'm motioning, how's that? I'll motion.
You second it, okay.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so moved.
Thank you for the thing.
No problem.
My thing,
Not at all.
yeah,
Happy to do it, you know, well.
Nice to meet you, Mike.
Yeah, I guess.
uh. Good luck with your,
Sorry.
you in the house, good luck with you in the house.
Well, from what I now it's, I don't know about that. This was, shared and infrastructure.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
Take a look, take a look.
So, you know,
Mom, why you going?
Yeah.
It's a lot of possibilities.
We need young
I
people,
go through it.
we need young people in town, like,
sorry.
we need young people in town.
Well, I got 2 kids, so be careful what you wish for, the tariffs.
And the other thing about it is, it really does have a good septic system.
Yeah.
And actually, it's perfect story.
So, real quick, getting back to that, if you don't mind, is there room on that property to drill your own well?
He has his
Oh,
own,
he has the well, but
it just, they own the market. So the market and the house are on the same well,
so the market uses his well, or that well.
but
Okay,
there's no agreement.
But the house uses their septic system, so
Yeah,
they're both over a barrel.
What happens
Yes.
if something fails? Who pays for that? It's a shared
well, that's,
cost. You gotta find that out.
All right,
thanks, Mike.
thank you so much, take care.
See you Sunday.
And like, if there's any questions on the property, you call me, okay? Just call Morgan.
Again, careful what you wish for.
You know, that's my job.
Take care, everyone.
Let's move right on to emergency management plan discussion. It's kind of brought up, like, 2 meetings ago, maybe. Ron, kind of mentioned it once, when we were talking about the
We're
chapter.
talking about floods and, flat flood and all that stuff. Doing time for the planning committee, for reviewing the management plan.
Yeah, so that's kind of getting ready for our next town plan. What do we need to do?
I looked at you, I looked what you have here, what you've written here, and it's just out of date. On page 61, what you've written is just out of date, and then the same with the goals and policies. and your, recommended actions. We have a highly comprehensive hazard mitigation, local hazard mitigation plan. And it's an all hazard plan. So there's no reason for you to do a plan. If you want to talk about if you want to talk about it in the same vein as you now have on your page 64 of the town plan. June 2018
I
plan.
think there may be some, lack of understanding, shall we say, about the three documents that we have relative to emergencies. There's, a local hazard mitigation plan, which is basically planning, which is what Bill just brought up. And that is 9/10 complete right now, or maybe 100%.
It's 100% complete except, well, 99.999%.
Yeah.
But there's two things that that's two things on our list of things to keep in mind to do, what do you call it, the mitigations. There's two things on the list, and I don't know what they are, that she wants to discuss.
And then there's a local emergency, what are they calling it? now?
Management plan.
Management plan, which is the basic, it used to be an operations plan. It is the document which town people who are responsible for managing an emergency, basically, and pull out of the hopper and follow with resources and methods for managing an emergency. It's not a planning document very much. It's an operational guideline following the National Incident Management System and all the resources that are available. And then on top of all of those is our town plan, which sets the scope for everything under the all hazards mitigation plan, which is a planning document. And then there's the operational plan down at the lower level, which is what you do when you have the emergency. And they're all different.
But I have to say this, if you guys, and I often hope that the planning commission would read 4325, which is the powers and duties of our planning commission. Because, for instance, we never would have had people looking at their problems with our septic system. A separate commission, it should have been you guys. That's what your job is. There's a whole, in number 4, tells you everything you're supposed to work on. One of which is not the emergency management. So it's structures, it's roads, it's sewer systems, it's water systems. And this goes on, here, okay. There's recommendations on matters of land development, urban renewal, transportation, economic and social development, urban beautification and design improvements, historic and scenic preservation, the conservation of energy, and the development of renewable energy resources and wetland protection. Period. That's what you guys are supposed to do.
In the town plan.
And that's everything, no, that's not only the town plan, but that's everything you're supposed to do.
I don't see any emergency response about them other than flood resiliency. Is that?
Well, that's where most of the town plan level.
Right, the town plan level, but we're not really getting into
So
detail.
flood resilience and the local organizations who are responsible for emergency response.
Right.
Those are the two areas in the town plan that will be covered.
What is really just defining it and who does it rather than.
And then that is required,
That,
that flood resilience part of the town plan is a required element
right,
in the town plan.
but to your point, it's not going into the point by point of how it's addressed, it's.
Right, that's down on a lower level.
Well, I think what you've written in your town plan is. Is what, should be in the town plan, again, and that's all to be updated, but should be in the town plan. And what you should be dealing with, and that is telling us what, in general, you want us to do, and that's what it does, it talks about. Emergency, make sure you have the emergency management director and the emergency, management, committee is working, that, you're prepared to respond to emergency, that you actually do respond and fix things, and then you mitigation, and then all the different planning you do for mitigation. By identifying the risks in the community and how you're gonna fix them, which includes capital budget at that time. And then, you talk about, being involved in NFIB, and I am working with Morgan now to get us involved in community CRS, community rating system, so that
Oh, good.
so we can save money. But the biggest the scariest thing in my mind with regard to NFIB and flood insurance is there's no one buys flood insurance. I think in the whole state, it's in the several hundreds. It's not even in the thousands in the whole state of Vermont, all the flooding. And in the town, I am told that there are 6. I know at least 6 that have flood insurance, including myself. But I don't, there seems to me there's gotta be more than 6, but that's what I'm being told by the state that the number was, and anyway. And then you talk about the shelters that we have, and a little bit of, and you have a little bit about the administration and where we can have meeting places here and out of the garage because of the generators, or the shelter situation. We don't really have any shelters except for getting warm or getting cool if there's an emergency from either loss of power and it's too hot or too cold. And other than that, the experience is that we don't need shelters because no one uses them when we do have them open, except for regionally, and the Red Cross has decided that White River Junction and Brattleboro are 2 places where they'll have. So that's. And it's and we could open our home, but we don't have any facility for kitchen or showers, so that's.
Yeah.
Is there any reason for updating the emergency management plan as an operational plan, or is that?
It's done every year.
It's,
Yeah.
And so there's no real issue in thinking of that, okay.
Well, the only thing I don't like about it, and Morgan and I have talked about it, I don't like the way the state streamlined it.
I don't either.
Because the problem with the streamlining is there's several forms that are very, very simple. That you should have with it to declare an emergency, because that has to be in writing and sent to the state. That you have an emergency in your town that is bigger than what you can handle by yourself. And that is all part of the thing that ends up being a presidential declaration. You know, if you want to be part of that, you've got to make a declaration. There's things like that. But
Used to be in it.
but it should be attached to it in our book that we have downstairs. It's all there together, but they simplified it. But they, in my opinion, they didn't do anybody any service by simplifying. The other thing is towns don't know how to respond and get the money from FEMA. People think that FEMA is the savior that comes riding in on the white horse and saves your town. By the time FEMA got here in Irene, and we had 5 $1.2 million worth of damage to our infrastructure. We probably had 75% of it done before they even showed up. And the biggest thing in what happens is the towns don't do the hard work of taking pictures, measuring all the damage before they start fixing it.
And
Or as they're
accounting,
fixing
and
it.
accounting in a way that,
And what happens is at the end of that, the person trying to put everything together has to tell FEMA what was the damage and prove it to us before you get the money. So people don't know how to respond to it. Jamaica, I wonder if Jamaica ever got any money, and they were completely destroyed in that July 2023 storm. I don't think they ever got the money. I tried to help them, but they had no idea what they were even doing. So,
Newfane was in the same kind of pickle, I think.
Yeah.
They're,
And it will end. My point was, not that they don't know, is that doing things like simplifying that LEMP doesn't help the towns because they're already ignorant enough without being more ignorant and not even know how to send in the emergency management. So,
the simplification was basically to fit a format that the state wanted for information. It really didn't help us that much. We did have a previous edition of the local emergency plan, the actual form for declaration of emergency, for instance, and a statement of what the relative duties of the emergency management director, the deputy director, and the emergency management coordinator. All is basically an appendix to the plan.
now, we had like 30 pages attached to it with all the information you would need.
But the state had forced us into a format that, although it captures a lot of the basic information that you need, like telephone numbers of local officials, it did not tell you how to manage an emergency. And I still am concerned that we don't have an appendix that lays out the proper way to go about doing the accounting, so that it just meshes with what FEMA would like to see. That goes to the pictures and the contracting, or all the money issues are not well specified at all, and that's where towns really end up getting hurt. If they don't have someone like Bill who has been through the mill before, and you did a great job of making us do it right in Irene. And most towns around here sat back and decided, well, we're gonna do our plain old, going out for bids for a contract to fix stuff that, you know, their streets are all washed out and they couldn't get anywhere and they're just sitting on their hands. And they didn't, when they started fixing them, they fixed them and didn't know how to account for it so that FEMA would reimburse them. So in that process, and I remember going to meetings with you and Alan Sands where the folks from the state just didn't care about having that process down pat. It's so important. Operational, we fix things fast. Medical fire, no problem at all. Finance and logistics, we did well, but most everybody else didn't. And take Chester over here on the road coming up Route 35, it had that gaping hole in it for months and months and months and months. They basically couldn't fix it.
They still didn't fix it.
Yeah,
So,
And everything they're doing on the rest of the road there should have been done in Irene.
yeah.
But what is it you want to do?
well, with regard to this conversation, is there a way we could streamline in the future how it gets done? The way you did it, is there a procedure to follow that? going down the road
Well,
in the future, how do we do it right?
I've written, about 25 pages that I'm re-editing and everything, and I'm gonna get it copyrighted. Because I can't get the state to do anything just like that. And so I've written it all about what you have to do in the forms that you have to follow. The other problem you had is FEMA went with DEI. And the people that showed up, this had no effing idea what they were doing. Do you know that we had people that were working on roads and bridges, et cetera, so infrastructure, PA, public assistance, didn't know what riprap is? That's how good their work was. I spent, just if I can tell you my side, but I did, like Londonderry hired me at a good fee, and I worked all the way, well, and I was doing the same thing for Grafton, all the way through December and into January. No one, we didn't, and they didn't have any money. Ludlow was out $7.5 million and had not collected one penny, because every time you got everything submitted to them, they wanted it in different form. And so I wrote a really long email to the state, to Ben Rose and the state, copied the FEMA field office, the people I knew in the field office are doing it. And I told them exactly everything that happened with every project that we had. There was like 30 projects, what happened in each one of them, and how they had all the information and they wouldn't do anything with it. And then I put at the end, when FEMA gets its head out of its ass and starts processing these for the towns, I'll go back to work for Ludlow, because I'm Londonderry, because they were paying good money, and it was going nowhere. Well, Ben Rose called me. The next day they had a meeting with the FEMA. They basically sent everybody home and got some people in. Now, did other towns get good people? I don't know, but we got 3 good people that knew what they were doing, and that's why we started getting money in March. Otherwise, we never would have got paid. And so, I've written the thing exactly what you do. But what you need to do, and I have the forms and everything, and I just haven't put it all together. But that's what needs to be done. I won't charge this town anything for it.
Can we get a signed
But
copy?
I don't wanna put it together and then do all that effort and not copyright it.
No, good point, yeah.
Because the
Can,
state,
can we get a signed copy?
because I've gone to 3 meetings with the state. Oh, we're gonna tell you, when FEMA comes down, this, that's kind of what it does. What they say they're gonna do, including VLCT's meeting. A bunch of bullshit,
Hmm,
a bunch of petty bullshit about how this whole thing works. Not how you get the money, but how it works from up here, and it just,
Hmm.
it is, what a waste of time.
DMV.
The state, DEM does, with the exception of 3 or 4 people, they don't know.
so DMV on steroids, huh?
That's really bad.
Yeah.
So,
Is there any argument for forcing FEMA down to the state level so that the states are directly responsible?
it's gonna be a hell of a lot better. I mean, we can't, we have to deal with incompetent people at the state, but we don't have to deal with incompetent people at FEMA trying to deal with incompetent people at the state.
So you get rid of one level.
One is incompetent. But the state people, they don't have the numbers, but but Kim Katarecki and that whole group that works on disaster assistance, they're all really good. And Ben Most is really good. But they, yeah, I mean, when I was with FEMA, the guys that worked in PA were all retired construction guys that put in culverts like Jamie, or there were people like that had, as they retired, they went to work for FEMA and, traveling on the country to help rebuild stuff. These kids,
Greg Whitman did that, Greg remember Greg Whitman? He's Crystal.
Yeah.
Tyson Fuel.
Yeah.
He does.
but these kids knew nothing. But the problem was they thought they knew everything, and made it really bad.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was on a project once, you mentioned riprap. I mentioned riprap for someone from the state, and they said, oh, we don't call it that anymore.
You don't let,
We don't call it that anymore.
oh,
Like, what do you call it?
anyway, so I think. I don't know, I think what you want to say in the town plan is, it's here. I think it's the basis here, isn't it? And that is you want to make sure that emergency management does exist, they're doing their job, they're identifying risks and so on and so forth. And part of your recommendations at the end to be done, well, there are identify at-risk populations, the only at-risk, that's kind of understating it. The at-risk population we have now is completely unknown. Most of the time because of HIPAA. So what we've done, well, we've resolved that by, we have 5 different home nursing companies that work in town. And we have a list of those people that we contact and say, do you have anybody living in town that is in danger? Or you want us to check on to see if they're in danger? Or do you have anybody in town you know, and you call us if they're in danger? So, because their list is always current, because they're currently working with these people. You know, that's the way they deal with that risk population. I don't know which historic assets we have to preserve in town. One of them is this building. I guess. Evaluate the hazard areas. Hazardous area, but we're talking about the flood hazard areas, and we do that. That's a constant thing. And the new match is supposed to come out this year. Adopt an offset hazard mitigation plan. That's what we do every 8 years now. Used to be every 5. And work with state and local emergency preparedness. Most of that is done with the fire and rescue. But we also work with them at times with planning and exercises.
We used to be able to work with WRC and at an operational level, we still can, but as far as planning is concerned, this last year, they withdrew most of their participation in that because they're not funded for it. The agency of commerce and whatnot, at the state level decided that that was not something that regional commissions needed to pay attention to anymore.
And in our hazard mitigation plan, we had pages. I don't know, but we must have 40, 45, 50 by priority of culverts and places that need to be fixed or addressed or something like that. And then we share that with the capital budget people so that they put aside capital budget money to pay our share of grants. So if we can get a grant for 20% from the state, to get the capital budget puts aside 20% of the cost of a $300,000 culvert or something like that. Put that aside, or if it's something smaller, less money, but that's what we try to do with the capital budget, and that's what the capital budget has done. And then, because we have all these on our list, if we have a flood event that is a presidential disaster declaration, we can get we pay attention to which ones we want to focus on to get mitigation so the FEMA will pay whatever percentage they're paying in that storm and replace it. One of the problems that happened on Fisher Hill, and actually all the way through town, was it wasn't until March of 2024, that ANR finally. Let me step back. You have a local roads. Uh, Municipal standards for local roads, and every municipality has that. And it says when. Part of that, it says when a culvert has to be replaced, it has to meet all the hydraulics and hydrology standards. The problem was they didn't define what was damaged beyond repair, quotes, damage beyond repair, and required to be replaced until March of 2024. Well, so July of 2023 is when the last time Fisher Hill was damaged, and we didn't know that. If the culvert is still in place because it has really good head walls, but it's all eaten out all around it, but it's still there. That it was damaged beyond repair. We didn't know that. We figured it was there. Matter of fact, we figured if you had a culvert that was washed 100 yards down the stream, but it didn't get all beat up, it was still around and not dented badly, you just haul it back on the boat. We didn't think that that the state would call that damage beyond repair, but if it's out of its bed, or or the bed is gone, it's damage beyond repair. We probably could have got a FEMA to pay for more Fisher, two of the 10 and 13 on Fisher Hill this last time.
So what happened this past summer, what we did back in 23. Is that resiliency showing that could have been completely washed out with that water that came down through? So those culverts worked that were put in, right? Can we say that something that we did worked
Oh, as far as,
from this last, from when the pond let loose?
Yeah.
Could that have been a lot worse if those
Oh, yeah.
box culverts hadn't been put in?
And that on Kingsley Brook, on the other hand, everything we replaced there, we replacing that one this week up there at number 24. We only have one left that is, and it's really, if we get it replaced because it washes out, it won't be because, well, it's in bad shape anyway, so. But that's the only one we need. It is too small, but it doesn't wash out the whole road like from 24, which is the one replacing. All those down that were replaced, they were all too small, and that's why we lost Kingsley Brook that year. It was just completely gone.
So,
It's kind of like Fisher Hill.
yeah, so that's a resiliency project.
Say again?
Is that a resiliency project? We call it a resiliency?
Well, mitigation for that purpose, yeah. So Hinkley Brook should be okay. In almost any storm, and even in a storm as big as Irene, it would be okay today. The road would be okay, I don't know. It's gonna get a lot of erosion in the street, but the road would be okay.
Now, there's some talk about, over on the subject of mitigation. The last email we got, talking about, the mitigation that's going on in the rivers.
Oh, in erosion, what do you call
It just came out last
it?
week.
River corridor,
You know, the river corridor, they're working on the West River, and they're talking about dam removals. What do you mean by dam removals? Is that man-made or natural dams that are?
no, there are several in Londonderry. I don't know how many there are. I looked at that project, but I looked at what Eric sent out, and I looked at their report and everything, and what they're gonna do. They have 60 projects on the West River, but when they talk about the West River study, it is the West, the Saxtons, the Williams, and there's a whole bunch of other things. But when they're talking about what they're having a meeting on over there, there's 60 projects all on the West River. They're not over here. And I looked at the ones in Londonderry that I was familiar with, the areas, and they're really good projects. But as you're going into Londonderry, there's a bridge right there.
Mhm.
Okay,
The
before you
the
get,
dam's up the pond.
and that is a dam right below it.
Yeah.
Now, people are they don't want that dam, some people don't want the dam removed, other people want the whole dang thing removed. But because they think there's a lake there, that lake is about this deep.
Mhm.
So it just, the dam should be taken out. But it's all ledge from not much below the end of the dam. So when they get the dam out, it'll still be pretty high. But they're talking about just getting rid of that. We removed the dam over here too
I remember that, yeah.
by the covered bridge. Several years
So
ago.
it's mostly man-made or
Man,
or erosion,
man-made.
slope erosion, they're correcting, are
Again,
they correcting any slope erosion? Along the river,
no,
so the 60 projects are all man-made projects?
I think it is basically to just promote better flow. To take the dam out.
Yeah, so down here in Saxon River, you're down the river taking out all that gravel. Just below,
Was it?
the orchard, Leach Road,
Yeah.
right across from Leach Road. They're down in there, that big, there's gonna be, thousands of yards of gravel down there that they've got it all piled up
In the river,
in the river.
yeah. But,
How can they do that?
Oh,
so, and they're taking it out?
it looks like they're taking it out.
Yeah, because what happens is that, when you have. When you don't let the flood go out in the floodplain. And you restrict it to the river. You're also causing, more, what do you call it? Hydrology, river hydrology, but you're not letting, and you're having more pressure from the water because you're not letting it go out here. So you're having more movement of stone and it stops at the bottom. And that's Jamaica's problem. Too, Jamaica just gets killed right there at the firehouse. It gets really get out here to, where that little camp is. Where, on the right hand side as you're going out in the, and I forget which one of them is, the middle one. That comes down right there. Well,
That's Woolly
it
Brook.
had flooded the. There was about this much room under that bridge when it should be, 6 feet. And, we were able to get all that out of there. And, with permission from Scott Jensen.
Yeah.
Clean out underneath that bridge as much as we could. And so we lowered that whole thing, but at some point in time, I mean, we hauled it off. But all that would end up in the river. Lots of times you go down that river and you wonder. How come that road doesn't flood much more, because it isn't much. Lots of time that water looks like it's the same height as the road on Townsend Road, But the biggest problem over there, and that's why you have all this. More rock coming down is, none of those. All of those farms should be built up on the hillside because all of that is floodplain. And what they have done over years is built. Walls to the creek and they can't get in there, they can't get to the floodplain.
Which increases the velocity.
And, but
Which
I.
picks up the.
I'm not proposing that we remove them, I'm not gonna have all those people show up my house with pitchforks, so.
It looks like there's a road that they're building right on that road. It looks like a road that they're building right into the river.
Well, that's what we did at Irene. We built a road right out into the river. With out of all the rock. Dug it all out. Crushed it all.
Yeah, this could all be crushable, good gravel for the town of Rockingham. Down there, I don't know if that's what you're gonna do.
I don't know. I don't know how you get permission to do that, but I know you do get permission to do that, and I agree we got permission to do that, because the statement was get gravel from wherever you can get it, because there wasn't any. And so we made gravel out of the river.
What about? I did look up. I went up to Hinton Brook, and what they're doing, Jamie's coming up here on that. Work. coming down on the riverside, all that bankment's coming down, all those trees. You just leave that, or you remove that? Is that what you intend?
It's gonna wash down the road,
Yeah,
and what I would hope that the town could do, but you're gonna have to get Scott permission, is get rid of all those trees that are positive to come down even more. They've all broken loose. There was a big tree earlier that had come down like this, right into the middle of that creek.
Mhm.
And it was this big around, it was just sitting there straight up. I don't know what happened to that, but it isn't there, but it wasn't big.
but that's, you know, one place, but as you're going down some of our roads, in the back roads, you see a lot of trees in the waterway.
You used to be able to cut them up in 6 feet length, but you had to leave them in the water. I don't know what the. I know that was the rule, so.
Yeah, this may be entirely contrary to most folks. Um. So-called common sense, but, the, agency of natural resources is actually going around and deliberately. Putting in, large collections of, trees into streams. To, both, slow the water down. And to provide fish habitat. So, contrary to having people, encouraging people to go in and cut trees and take them out of the river, they're actually, wanting the trees to be in the river. And I think the permission to take trees out is probably limited to those places where the trees would, impact on a bridge. And, or not necessarily a house, municipally owned property, yes, but not private residences, as far as I know. But where it's threatening a bridge, they would allow you to take the trees out.
So why would you allow a bigger dam to flood further back upstream? Why does that make why is that common sense? Where's the common sense in that?
The trees don't really,
I know you're slowing the water down, but
Yeah.
eventually those trees are gonna take off with enough ballast. And continue down the river and plug up even further down the river. It doesn't make any sense, does not make any sense whatsoever.
it does make sense from a fish biologist point of view.
There's no fish.
Fish don't pay taxes.
What's gonna happen up there where you're talking about between there and the falling down Don Bolton cabin is the water is just gonna take out more of that bank and it's just gonna widen to the right. Because the road is on the left and the town's gonna protect the road with riprap and stone, but the other side is gonna just eat away, and it'll go around. It'll change pretty quickly if we get a big storm.
Yeah.
All that sand will be gone, and then we just had big root balls sitting there in the water.
Yeah, okay,
Anything, Frank?
no, thank you for attending,
Yeah.
sharing.
Good discussion, I'm glad I'm here to hear it.
So if you tell me what you would like to see in the town plan. If it's an outline of what you, for instance, if it's like what you have here, but updated,
Just
I
update,
can do that.
if you can help with an update, yeah,
Okay, and then I can update the goals and policies and.
that'd be great, thank you.
Okay, and then, if I say it's already. I'm not gonna put. What's in here, but we can refer to it.
Mhm.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if anybody wants my job, they can have it.
And we meet
Pass on your knowledge,
Huh?
how are you gonna pass on your knowledge?
He's off.
Well, that's the whole idea. If I get somebody, then I can do it.
And we meet, Thursday at 4, right?
If that's when it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
This
This
Thursday
Thursday.
at 4.
Um,
This Thursday?
No,
next
next
Thursday,
week,
next Thursday,
next week.
That's-
Twenty-eight,
Twenty-eighth.
the
That week
28th,
she's coming to.
28th.
To finish the plan.
yeah.
Yes. 4 o'clock.
Thanks, Ken. Thank you, Bill. You said a couple more things that the municipal planning, municipal planning grant, Eric sent out the form. Actually, I didn't see the form of this, it was just the fact that they notified us.
Yeah,
The form isn't there yet.
I think you may be able to follow a link to the state site, they have it on it. But we've gotta move on that very quickly.
We need to have it ready for the next meeting. Sign off on it and send it in.
Yeah.
First off in September.
We've gotta write up a narrative for it, I don't know how much competition there is in these grants these days, but, there will be some competition, so if you did a lousy writing up why you needed the grant, then
Well, we're anticipating. When the regional to help us with our town plan on that, right? 27?
oh, but that is not, the municipal planning grant itself is not part of it, no, we're using it to have them help us.
Right, that's what I was trying to say, sorry.
But we've gotta have the preliminary paperwork in that September timeframe.
If the application opens September 1st, they have to have the thing in and by the end
Completed
of
by
November.
But the reason
Or
we're
in November.
requesting it is to provide. Funding for Wyndham Regional to help us with our town plan.
Right.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we need to say in that?
Well, how, specific should we be about what kind of help we want?
Well, I think the more specific you can be, the better chance you're gonna get the grant.
Yeah.
I think that,
We need to be able to specify,
we've
two
gotta,
areas that, hey, we need this kind of help. What's the amount of grant? Potentially?
Up to 30,
Up to 30,000?
yeah,
We're 45, and then those joining us.
typically a grant to help with writing up the town plan has cost in the vicinity of 7,000 to 8,000. And I think you wouldn't succeed in getting something that was over 10. Just like general gut feeling.
sorry,
The outline that Mike brought tonight, they're charging $110 an hour. For example. So. We need 70 or 80 hours of help. And. Now, last time. That help was ongoing, we've got Chuck. It's like
Even a lot.
Week after week and so on. Is that the sort of situation we're facing this time?
Similar, yeah, but, he had the experience of knowing how to, basically craft the town plan or work on it, yeah. He had worked for the, Two Rivers Ottaquechee Planning Commission.
Yeah.
Up in Woodstock, so he was well versed in it. It was like having some of the WRC working for us, but he was a captive.
but we paid him well back then.
Yeah,
Probably the equivalent of 110 today.
Yeah.
So in terms of filling out the application, I was mentioning on the way into Eric, I sent it over to Peg this afternoon when I had it. And she just said if somebody, because we don't know what to write in it, but if any number of you guys want to just get on a call with her, she's happy to be the scrivener. Fill out the application if that helps at all. You know, I mean, the top, because again, I think you're right, you do have to put details in there and what you're looking to do, and that's something. We don't know, she doesn't know.
We work on it on September 9th, our next meeting, have it ready to send out more,
Well,
maybe.
you can make it on
Okay.
the business, and, you know, just. I don't think there's anything else that, you know. Gonna force our attention for the night necessarily, but this would.
We've gotta do it.
So just have her come by that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about that?
You think of the form,
Bring your computer and I mean, we have to look more carefully, but I believe, oh, no, the form itself wasn't out yet. I think this was the instructions and there was a bunch of things, we're studying that. But we plan to put her in a suitcase and bring her over.
Yeah. Last time, we put in an application for the municipal planning grant. So we should probably have a copy of that, just to see.
Yeah, Morgan probably's got it down there in the archives.
Okay, so maybe you can ask Morgan to send each of us,
can you do that, please?
sorry,
Could you do that for us?
I can do it for me.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're asking Morgan to email copies of the previous municipal planning grant. And what year was that for, 2019?
Well, we've had at least two of them over the course of. That I've been associated with.
Grants.
So,
How did we pay? Chuck,
came out of the select board's budget, I think. He was I hesitate to say he was an employee. But he was, budgeted as, assistance to us. And we made, ample use of his assistance, not just for scribing our meetings, but also to work on actual preparation documents.
all right, so the next meeting we'll work on this, Peg will help us. Listers. Help to get her here,
Yeah, she offered.
Yeah.
Thank
well, thank you. And Ron, you're gonna send out some information
Yeah, I'll contact
from
them.
Morgan,
Pull up those copies if you can.
thank you.
And then anything else we should be thinking of before then, in terms of? You know, how to,
Well, take a look at, I mean, if you look at the note that Eric sent around and go through the various stuff, I mean. Again, that's all I could think of is that you were looking for this grant for the town plan assistance. But maybe there's something else too, and I don't know, but just take a look.
I think the more targeted it can be and specific and detailed, the better.
Okay, and you think it's just one thing? If you-
Well, it's that's statistics, but it's everything. The energy, all the little data points that we're gonna need to put in,
Sure.
we need to get from WRC, and that's an unknown already anyway. Cause we're gonna be into another legislature by 2028, and who knows what they're gonna. Right, be asking for.
We also need to have an evaluation of how it fits with the regional plan and with, Vermont legislation. So we're touching all the bases that need to be.
And WRC won't know until the legislature,
No, it's what's already transpired, which is complicated enough.
but will anything change by 2027? They will, we have to rely on Wyndham Regional to figure that out, right?
I mean. Good,
Or we're asking for each 10,000 for the town transport. Is that our target?
I think 10,000 is pushing it, and 6,000 is probably not enough.
But, I mean, it does say that, you know, you can use it, you can use part of this for, flood. Resiliency projects, you know, do you wanna try to go for the rest for town plan plus?
That's what I'm talking about, asking, we're asking different things.
Or, how about an improved hazard mitigation plan like Townsend just did?
Well, Morgan had just done one that, we knew we weren't gonna get, cause there's no funding until 2030. We might just take the verbiage from some.
You'll have a hard time motivating people to go through this process again for the hazard mitigation plan.
Can you submit
It's-
two different proposals?
Also,
I don't know.
you just, as long as you're under the cap, and if you're asking for multiple.
Well, you know, one for 9,199 and another for, you know,
Yeah, you know, what is the problem, say you get the one,
Well, we need a specific project, but I think we have some.
you don't get
Well,
the.
yeah,
I don't know if this would be enough money to cover this,
you don't want it to get in the way of either, but you do.
unless you think that would make it be problematic on getting the funding for.
As I said, as narrow and as specific and detailed as you can make it, the better your chances are of,
So you really
getting
think,
it received.
so at the end of the day, you think the best and clearest shot is just to make this area specific with the details you're talking about to get the, grant for the town plan
Yeah,
assistance.
now, whether or not the town can also, you got a second? And that's.
Well, there you go, you guys should, the select board
I
should
know.
put in one. Why not? I mean, some other
Is there a
organization.
limit, on the town or?
And I don't know, that's.
No, it's just that
We've
you have,
never had
you have to
one.
read the thing, you have to read this website.
Dueling plan proposals. Yeah, but we don't want it to get.
Well, you know, the fire department could do the, the emergency plan, something, or, I don't know, I mean, it could be some other organ, I mean, I don't know, we have a look.
Are these municipal grants coming from state money or federal money that was
I think it's
still left over from COVID?
which is state.
It's state.
those things.
Cause we're gonna be running out of the COVID money here fast and all these programs and organizations are gonna either go belly up or we're gonna have to pay for them through our tax money.
Right,
Okay,
And you find out which ones you actually ever needed.
Yeah. Any old business?
we still have somebody in to, talk about, methods of, PFAS mitigation.
Yeah. My contact is, falling off the face of the earth. Haven't seen her all summer.
It's not old business, but I did send you those training, Vermont training things if. Yeah, I know it'd take more research, so it's interesting they offer it.
Hmm. And you sent the article on PFAS and
I keep, when I find them,
that was a good article. Wasn't a lot to it, but it interesting.
that's rare that something is actually able to eat that stuff.
Oh, yeah, those.
There's,
Yeah,
those molecules are really hard to predict.
Microorganisms do wonderful things. They learn how to break down new things, I think.
More than it's gonna get.
Yeah,
Basically, one of the articles about a year ago that I sent around. He basically had to starve the microorganisms and we offer them nothing else, and then they finally.
Yeah.
Feed them kale.
yeah, yeah. Public comment, public is left,
Nobody joined on.
nobody joined.
Nope.
Do we have any public comment within ourselves? No? Next meeting, September 9th, work for everyone. We're gonna have to work on our municipal planning, I'll put that top shelf
Yeah,
and,
Did you guys send this down to vote? Or was monitoring somebody? Yeah, I thought I heard you say that.
oh, Peg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Special guy.
Yep. There's candy here, if anybody wants candy for it at home.
What kind of candy?
It looks like a mixed bag,
Is the waiter accurate?
probably.
Right. Mainly Butterfinger.
No, in the old days, maybe,
Butterfingers?
the love five figures, but not.
Yeah, but.
Oh, it's Nestle's Park.
Take one for later, take one for later.
Cavity killer.
It's Nestle's Park, but.
I should say, very well, I just pulled them out.
Thank you, Leslie.
Okay.
do you have a party at the, happening at ten point?
Motion to adjourn, by the way. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 9:15.
Okay, take care, folks.
Yeah, thank you, Ron.
Yeah, thank you all.
I think this was Mike's, so it was to Mike, Ron,